So here's an interesting story. Few days back, I met a professor in Pune who teaches US CMA. We were discussing general stuff, but suddenly he conveyed one concern. One of his students scored more than 250. The actual score was 280, but still the essay section didn't open up. Now we are well aware that our US CMA paper has two parts. One part is 100 MCQs for 3 hours, and then there is some eligibility criteria. If we suffice that, there will be additional 1 hour during which we have to solve 2 case studies. Now a lot of people fail to understand the eligibility criteria, or they are unaware about the scaling system used to evaluate these exams. So in today's video, we have a very simple but important agenda. Number one, to see how USCMA exams are evaluated. Number two, what is the eligibility criteria required to open your essay section? And number three, how essay section is evaluated, mainly in terms of are there any negative markings, how to present your answers, what are the hygiene factors you need to maintain, such as spelling mistakes or formatting, and lastly, how the exam result is distributed. Everything will be covered. So in case if you're pursuing for USCMA exam, this is a must-watch video for you. But if you're new to the channel, then hi. My name is Aditya Shelar. I'm founder and CEO of FinStreet Education, where I'm also the lead faculty for US CMA. I have more than 6 years of corporate experience with FRM CMA and MBA from IIM Lucknow. And now I'm on a set mission to take all finance aspirants to a great career in finance, targeting the CFO role. Let's get started. First things first, a disclaimer. See, in this video, whatever I'm going to explain, it is my subjective interpretation. It is not coming out of any official document released by IMA or ICMA. If you're getting confused between what is IMA and ICMA, here's a quick explanation. IMA is the main association level body, which is called Institute of Management Accountants. And then we have ICMA. ICMA stands for Institute of Certified Management Accountants. ICMA is responsible for drafting your LOS, basically your curriculum or syllabus, then setting your test papers. Third is grading your papers, and fourth is giving you certification. So this is major responsibility of ICMA. But when we talk about IMA, it is mainly the association level body. So making sure your fees are collected, the admin support required, then let's say you have membership with them, so making sure benefits are passed on. These kind of activities are conducted mainly by IMA. Now, even though technically I'm quoting two names, they are part of one organization only. So not much to differentiate over here. But coming back to the point, unfortunately, I haven't come across any exclusive document that completely explains in a very transparent way how the scoring system works. But with my background of completing US CMA exams, and along with that some other US based exams, I've completed FRM exams, I've also completed CFA level 1. So with my experience, with my rather interpretation and my discussion with some industry veterans in India and US, so that's the disclaimer. Let's get started with how scaling system works. See, when we talk about scaling system, it has a very simple objective: to scale or to adjust your score as per the difficulty level. Let's take a simple scenario to understand this. Imagine that there is a professional exam and it has two sets, set A and set B, for the same exam. Now, some candidates will appear for set A and some for set B. Let's assume that set A turns out to be more difficult than set B. So those who have appeared for set A will obviously get less score. But that would be unfair for them. And this is where the scaling system steps in. It makes sure that if your paper is difficult, if the questions are difficult, then your score is scaled to a higher mark, or your rank is scaled to a higher mark, making sure that all the scores are comparable or all the ranks are comparable. That is the logic behind scaling system. And there's a lot of statistics that goes behind it. There's a constant rollout of new questions. There's some feedback taken. There is some metrics assigned, and then the scaling system steps in. But we won't be getting into unnecessary complex stuff. I'll give you a very simple scenario to understand all this. Now, I hope your understanding with scaling system is good enough. Now, coming to CMA exam, how it works is it's quite interesting. Let's talk about the exam first and the eligibility criteria. See, we have two parts in our exam. One part is the first 3 hours where we have 100 MCQs for 375 marks. Now, here's the eligibility criteria. If we get at least 50% of the MCQs correct, not 50% marks, 50% of the MCQs correct, then only the essay section would open up for additional 1 hour and 125 marks. So 375 plus 125, 500, that is the total markup for the US CMA exam. Now here there are two interesting scenarios that can be created, and to explain you this scenario, let me create an example or a metric system, but this is just based on my assumption. Let's say there are 100 MCQs for 375 marks. So not necessary one MCQ will be for 3.75 marks. No, that's not how scaling system works. Let's categorize this question into 3 buckets. One would be difficult, second would be moderate, and third one would be easy. Let's say someone gets easy question correct, so 1 point. For moderate, 3 points. For difficult, 5 points. Okay, it's all assumption. Now what can happen is, first scenario, if a candidate gets let's say 49 questions correct, but majority of these questions are from difficult category. Given that questions are from difficult category, the candidate will end up scoring a lot in the sense might go up to 260, 280, even 290 or 300 for that matter. But just because the number of questions correct are 49, the 50% requirement, that 50% of the MCQs out of 100, 50 questions should be correct, that part is still missing. So there's a good chance even after scoring 280, 290, 300, your essay section will not open up. But these are rare cases, just to point out. Next or second scenario is, let's say you get 60 MCQs correct, but out of the 60 MCQs, the questions that you have scored correctly are majorly from easy category and some from moderate category. So in this scenario, what can happen is, given that you have scored easy and moderate questions correct in majority, your score might be very less, might be somewhere around 200, 220, 230, but you might get to see the essay section. Now, if you ask me that, Aditya, is the system good or bad? Is this fair or not? I really don't have an opinion on this. I'm really no one to comment on this. But just to highlight, this is how the system works. And this is just an example, a possible example of how scaling system works. See, instead of marks, there could be points. Instead of points, there could be ranks. Instead of ranks, there could be anything else. But the idea behind scaling system is treating difficulty level properly. Means if something is more difficult, should be rewarded higher points. If something is easy, should be rewarded less points. But again, to highlight, if you're someone sitting in that category of scoring 280 and 290, but still not getting their essay section open, believe me, you were very close. And I would highly recommend that please prepare again. Given that you put in proper amount of effort, time required, you'll definitely pass in the next attempt. There's a very high probability that you were almost there, but you just couldn't make it. You are very close. That's my first recommendation. Second is, when we talk about scaling system, the best way to tackle is following a very nice, exam strategy. Now there is a dedicated video on my personal channel. You can watch that how you need to go through the whole paper once, target all the easy questions first, then moderate and then difficult. This will make sure that your 50 question requirement gets completed in first go or second go maximum. So this would be very easy. I mean, the whole paper should be solved 3 times as per my strategy. So the strategy is decoded over here. You can click on the I button and watch the video later on. तो वीडियो को आगे देखने से पहले I have one quick announcement. I have a great news for you. मैंने रिसेंटली फिनस्ट्रीट एजुकेशन ये वेंचर स्टार्ट किया है जहाँ पे मैं खुद यूएस सीएमए पढ़ाता हूँ. तो अगर आपको मुझसे डायरेक्टली सीएमए पढ़ना हो तो आप हमारे पुणे क्लासरूम में आ सकते हो, या फिर आप हमारा वर्चुअल लर्निंग क्लासरूम भी ज्वाइन कर सकते हो जहाँ पे मैं ऑनलाइन लाइव क्लासेस लेता हूँ. एंड नॉट जस्ट दैट, जो हमारा इन हाउस प्लेसमेंट सपोर्ट मॉडल है, दैट इज कंप्लीटली इंस्पायर्ड बाय IIM लखनऊ's प्लेसमेंट स्ट्रक्चर. So when it comes to getting placed in top MNCs or even big four companies, I will personally take care of that. लेकिन ये होने के लिए I hope to see you in the classroom soon. Please enjoy rest of the video. But I hope now you will have some clarity around the eligibility required to open the essay section. Coming to next part. Acha, one more interesting question that some student asked me, what if I complete my the MCQ section 15 minutes early? Can I get that 15 minutes added to my next part? Means ideally it is 3 hours for MCQs and 1 hour for essay section. So my answer would be yes. And to give you context of my story, see, when I appeared for the exam, I was quite concerned about my typing speed. So I had made sure that I need additional 10 to 15 minutes for my essay section. So I had submitted my paper 10 minutes early. Means one I think it was after 170 minutes I had submitted my paper. So for my essay section, instead of getting 60 minutes, I got 70 minutes. And I utilized that 10 minutes to make sure that I type all the answers correctly. So it's a small FAQ, but I hope this also gives you some additional clarity. Now coming to the essay section. See how essay section would work is, I'll give you some reference or example from school life. See, in our school life, if you have been to an English medium, you might have observed, you have something called as comprehension. Comprehension means there's a long story, and below that story, based on that story, there are some questions mentioned which you have to answer in combination to your knowledge plus references given in the story. The same is the deal with case studies. There will be a long story about a company given with some obvious issues. Let's say the case study is on risk management. So of course there would be some risk management issues highlighted, and the question would simply say, can you highlight 3 potential risks in this case study? Now to give you some FAQs around case studies. Do the answers need to be from the case study? Yes. It has to be a combination of your own knowledge. Maybe you can highlight the 3 potential risks, but also give references from the case that XYZ is the potential risk seen over here. Second thing, is there negative marking? No. So instead of writing, even though the question asks for 3 potential risks, you can highlight 5 risks. That is also possible. That is something I did. And let's say out of these five, one turns out to be incorrect, but remaining four are correct. So you will be given positive marks, or not full marks rather, but you will be graded positively for the 4 points, and the last point will be discarded. Next thing is, what if there are some spelling mistakes, or how to present the data? First of all, if there are very few errors, one or two, ideally don't make spelling mistakes, but if there are one or two mistakes, it can be interpreted as typos. But if there is spelling mistakes seen regularly, or a lot of Gen Z or millennials use this chatting language, and if such terminologies are observed, you might invite some unnecessary trouble. So be careful with your spelling mistakes, or rather spell checks. Okay, be very careful with that. Now that's a like a mentor based or a teacher based advice. Coming to last but one of the most important questions, if there is calculation asked, for example, they have asked you how to calculate, like they have asked you contribution margin. So do we need to directly write the answer, or do we need to show how contribution margin is derived? The answer is, you need to show how contribution margin is derived. So ideally, first line you will write the formula that contribution margin is equal to revenue minus variable cost. Then for whatever your revenue is there or sales price is there, you need to mention that. Variable cost, you need to mention that. Then you need to mention the contribution margin, and you have to write the equation properly. So whatever the number is there, xy minus abc is equal to, again, pqr, whatever the number is, you need to properly use signs, symbols, dollar sign, everything, and write your answers properly. So if you're solving something, show elaborative calculations, and also at the end write a conclusionary statement. One more additional note, see, we come in from an educational system where there are not so good parameters followed. See, in a lot of colleges, if you have 10 marks for a question, you will write up 10 points. That is not how it works. In CMA exams, your answers have to be very succinct in the sense, short, crisp, to the point. And the best way to practice them is, there are a lot of solved case studies in the IMA support package. So the best way to practice, understand the style of writing, expectations, everything is based out of support package. If you're someone who's preparing for the exam, please refer to these case studies from support package. But I hope now you have a complete idea around how the ecosystem of CMA exams work. Talking about the results, see, you will get results in two phases. One is, you get one result after 42 days from the last day of your exam month. So let's say you appear for US CMA exam on any day in January. So from last day of your exam month, 31st January, it will take 42 to 45 days. So tentatively your whole February, and then additional 12 14 days. So 12th March tak tentatively your result ideally should show up. That's for your result. And over here you will get your score, and you will get your status, that have you passed or failed. After this result, specifically after 14 days of this result, you will get a grade sheet, or more like an additional explanation on how you have performed on the exam. Over here you will might see a categorization of performance into different sections. So section A, how you have performed, I think there were some 2 or 3 grades used, like outstanding, satisfied, or unsatisfactory, something like that. I don't recall, it's been what, 5 years or 6 years that I've completed these exams, 6 years tentatively. But yeah, after 14 days, I got a similar sheet. And one thing I observed, that between my result and other results, see, I passed both the parts. So wherever I've seen my performance, it was either outstanding or satisfactory. But wherever students have failed, either one of the sections have showed that the performance was unsatisfactory. So one interpretation I could take out of this is, on the safe side, please make sure you perform well on all the sections. Now, there isn't any rule that you have to pass in all the sections. The rule simply says, out of 500, you need to score 360 to pass the exam. But my observation has been around that, whenever any candidate messes up in one or more sections, if the result is unsatisfactory, there's a good chance your score will be less than 360. So safe side, perform well in all the sections and score more than 360. And to be honest, don't be worried about the passing benchmark. Prepare well, so well that you are targeting 500 on 500, not 360. Okay, I push my students to always target more than 400. Then only I'm satisfied with their performance. That's a good benchmark to have, around 470, 480, or 490. I've even seen global toppers who get their distinction award for these exams. So that is something you should be targeting. Target a very high benchmark, so that even if you perform badly on your exams, you end up passing it. That's the simple trick. But I hope this gives you overall complete clarity. Now, before ending the video, if you're someone who's interested in pursuing US CMA, there are some details on your screen. There's a Google form. Below, you can fill it and get in touch with me for any additional discussion, guidance, or anything that you need. I'm there to support you. Thank you for watching the video. If you're new, do subscribe, hit the like button. As usual, I'll see you in the next video. Take care and bye bye. All the best for your exams.